we have a very special guest in this first half hour of the show who is courageously here to share her story. Nita, thank you so much for being here.
Hi, guys.
We're lucky to have you here for so many reasons.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm
Welcome,
glad you're here.
welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. I can't wait to hear your story.
Thank you. It's an interesting story. So let me know when you're ready.
Oh, we are ready. We want to know, where do you want to begin? I mean, what was life like for you? A day in the life of Nita prior
Well,
to that first indication that something might be going on with your circulation?
okay. A day in the life of Nita. I was a restaurant. I managed restaurants for over 30 some years. I was very active. I have three beautiful daughters. I have three beautiful grandkids. At that time, I was just a go-getter. I was always on the move. I was very active in the community. I was very active in my church. I was just an active person all around. And then I started getting symptoms. I didn't know what it was. For years, my legs would start hurting. And I said, well, back in the day, I'm from the South. So for us, everything was rub it a little salve on it and it'll be okay in a minute. Just give it the time. So I never could find out answers as to why my legs would always hurt. And it got to the point, I'm a fashionista. I had to stop wearing heels. I couldn't wear my shoes, and that was very devastating for me. So I moved to Maryland in 2011 to be closer to my family here. And when I got here, I was here for 3 years. And then the third year, I found a bump. It was like a mosquito bite at the top of my foot, on my left foot. And it itched like a mosquito bite. I scratched it a couple of times. Then it started getting to the point of it was infected, but the infection was under the surface. It started turning yellow. Then it started spreading. So I started going to my primary care physician. No one could actually tell me what was going on. They couldn't put a name to anything. Now, the whole time I'm going through all of this process, I'm going back and forth to my doctors. My toes started turning black. All this time, I'm going back and forth, and my toes are turning black. I know there's somebody out there that could help me, but they didn't. So I got my first amputation in 2017.
So who did you complain to at this point? It sounds like you had gone back and forth with doctors, right? I'm sure you went to your primary care physician. You
My
said,
primary
I have.
care, my podiatrist, any and everybody that would listen. But no one could give me an answer for what was going on with me. No one. So by the time I got my first amputation, I still did not know or know anything about the word peripheral artery disease. I knew nothing. I found out about PAD when I left Maryland to go to Michigan to save my life. My daughter found Dr. Mustafa on Twitter. He was on vacation. She tweeted him and she said she didn't think he would hear back from him. 30 minutes later, he tweeted her back and said, tell me what's going on with your mom. She told him what was going on because at that time I was talking about a second amputation. I hadn't even gotten out of the hospital from the first amputation. They sent me home. The podiatrist sent me home with my foot open. I had 3 stitches, one on each side and one in the middle. So it got infected. By the time I got to Michigan, I had to get my foot cut back twice more because of the poor care that I received here in Maryland. I got to Michigan, Dr. Mustafa, the staff, my family at ACV, they literally saved my life. He told me I had weeks to live. If I had not made it to them on time. So for the past 7 years, I have found a new reason to live. So after living life, fighting for my life, fighting to save my leg for 7 years, I moved back to Maryland. Going through a horrific divorce, I came back to Maryland to be close to family. And
we're going to find out what happened next right after the break. So stay with us right here on the Heart of Innovation. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the broadcast. We are talking to Nita and hearing her powerful story. She was living in Maryland. She was on the verge of amputation. She ended up with, I believe, Nita, you had a toe amputated first in
Yes,
Maryland.
yes, I had all five of my toes amputated first in Maryland.
So it was actually a transmetatarsal amputation in Maryland. The doctors did not even attempt prior to amputation to open up the blood vessels to carry critical nutrients and oxygen that are critical healing components to any sort of wound, and especially inline flow, according to the Society for Vascular Surgery and the American Heart Association, should at least be attempted prior to any amputation, but you weren't awarded that sort of opportunity there in Maryland.
No, I wasn't. I feared for my life because I had made the travel back from Michigan twice, back to Maryland. Before I finally decided the third trip, I checked myself out of the hospital the third trip, and I said midway between Michigan and Maryland, I wasn't going back to Maryland because I feared for my life. These people were not taking my life serious. So
Right. So this was actually, so you went to Michigan first. You stayed there for 7 years with Dr. Mustafa. You had, every other year, one leg was done or the other. And then
Yes.
you decided after this divorce, you're moving back to Maryland. And that's where you've started the story in this segment. So continue on from there.
Okay. So
Actually,
because
Kym, if I could just interrupt for real quick, because the point that you made about the number of procedures that you had, it's not common. I mean, the stuff that we do, particularly below the knee, it opens up and then it closes again. And so it's not uncommon for a patient to have multiple procedures on each leg over and over, and we do what we can, and we will do whatever we have to do in order to preserve the limb. So I just want to make that clear for the audience, because sometimes people are like, wow, you guys do a lot of procedures on these patients. Well, we do it because we have to.
exactly.
Right. And I think Nita, I mean, having these procedures, it was something that you were willing to go through to maintain your legs.
Of course, I call him a tune-up is what I started calling him because I would have to have them currently to maintain my lifestyle, my quality of life. So when I came back here, I I decided to maintain my self-care. I decided my primary care physician referred me to a podiatrist because that was one of the first things I knew I needed to see was a podiatrist. I went to the podiatrist. I have I get corns on the bottom of my feet because really the bottom of my foot is actually part of the top of my foot. It was a flap and they flapped it over. So I have to go and get maintenance done on my foot. I went to go get maintenance done. The podiatrist sliced too close to my foot. I had a infection. I got a pus ball on the bottom, the size of a tennis ball. I got a pus ball on the top, right on top of the artery of my foot itself. I had to go back. I went to Johns Hopkins. They told me I had a bone infection. And in hearing I have a bone infection, that says I'm about to get my leg amputated below the knee. That was the first thing they wanted to do. Every time I come back to Maryland, they want to amputate. So I was trying to explain to Dr. Hicks, the vascular surgeon. I'm
That
sorry.
you wanted to have your leg flow restored. And so you checked yourself out against medical advice, AMA, because you were committed. You wanted to find a doctor that would attempt to restore blood flow. And that's really where you're at in your journey, is you are now getting ready to see a second opinion. We always suggest a second opinion prior to any procedure. And you're getting a second opinion and from a different doctor who is willing to attempt to restore inline flow once again, correct?
That is correct. And as a matter of fact, the procedures is I'm having the procedure on the 3rd, which I'm excited for because I know that having this procedure, I don't have the back pain, I don't have the hip pain, I don't have the leg pain. I can walk. I have my mobility back. And without it, my mobility is off. My body is off. And when your doctor takes time to explain what your feelings, what your body would go through, knowing what you need in order to keep your health, you listen to those doctors because they take care of you. You know that what they're telling you is sincere. When you find a doctor that is willing to let go of himself to send his patient to somebody else to say, I can't do this, but I know somebody that can, then you have physicians that love you and you know that will listen to you. When you have a doctor that says, no, I can do it all, and if I can't do it, it cannot be done, that's not true. It's always somebody out there. And with all of the conferences, think about it, all of the conferences these doctors go through, all of these new people, all of these more innovative doctors that they meet, and they can say, I can't do this, but I know somebody that can. I can't make that decision, but let me introduce you to somebody that can help you make that decision. What I'm saying is give us as patients the option to say, allow me to go somewhere where I know I can get the care that I need. Don't hold me back from getting from what I need because of what your status might look like in your medical society. Don't do that. Love on your patients, because when you love on your patients, believe it or not, your patients love back on you and they trust you with so many things. In order for you to know your patients, you have to ask questions. I'm not going to tell you right off the bat that this is happening in my life if you can't tell me something about yourself. I want to know you just like you want to know me. So this procedure that I'm about to have, I've been fighting to have this procedure done ever since May. And I'm finally getting it done. But you know what happened with me? My doctors in Michigan, my family in Michigan, you know what they did? They make sure they do the research for me. If I call them in Michigan and say, I can't find, they'll say, Nita, we're going to look for you. Now I found that same thing in Kym. If I call Kym and say, Kym, I can't find, Kym is going to be on it until we find it. She tires me out sometime with all these text messages, but I love this woman to the hilt because now Kym is a part of my medical family. If you cannot say you have a medical family, a team, then you don't have it. With all these different doctors coming at you at one time, you're already anxiety, you're already pumped with medication, you're already pumped with pain pills. You get people trickling into your room one by one. You don't know who you've talked to. When they tell you you have a team, you want to see everybody from the head of that team down to housekeeping. If I need to talk to housekeeping, I know the head of housekeeping. That's how far I want my team to go. That's how deep a medical team should go. I don't want to be nobody's number. I don't want to be just another file in a cabinet. I want to be Nita's coming in today. Get ready. Nita needs this done. Nita, I don't want to be patient 992. I want to be personable. I want that hug. I want that hug from that nurse. I want that hug from that doctor if I need it. Show me the attention. That's what you went to school for. That's what you planned for this. That you went to school to save lives. You didn't go to school for money. You can't, because I'm sure you're still owing school bills. You went to school to save lives. Help us save our lives. Stop ignoring us as people. Stop ignoring us.
And
This
on that note,
disease, I'm sorry, this disease does not make us who we are as people. Take time to know me. I'm Nita. And I
Anita,
have
we're going to
purpose.
hear more of your story and inspiration in just a moment. Let's take a break. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the show. We've been hearing Nita's story, and I wanted to bring in Dr. James Antizana from North Carolina, Charlotte, North Carolina, a vascular surgeon. You've been listening into Nita's story. Any thoughts before we hear her final thoughts?
No, I am very moved with what she says, and she's pretty accurate in that regard. And I believe that, first and foremost, we're all brothers and sisters. We're all human beings linked by our great creator. And if we put everything aside and just focus on those things that I just said, I think the world would be a better place. We would be taking care of each other, and we would be manifesting that four-letter word that I believe has been passed down to us, and it's our responsibility to uphold, and that's loving one another. So yeah. That's all I have.
I totally agree. And with that, Nita, you attended The Way to My Heart patient conference near Chicago recently, and you had a very powerful message about the experience as an African-American woman with PAD. And African Americans do get their legs amputated at 3 to 4 times the rate of their white counterparts. And you have a very strong message in that regard, not only for other African American individuals who might be at risk, but also physicians as well. I'll let you take the floor.
Well, my take on that is a lot of Black people in poverty, they get their situations amputated faster because they don't get the care that they need. They feel as though they are disposable. They're not as informed. And the first thing, and because we are so trusting of our physicians, our primary cares, we are so trusting and believe in what they say, especially our elderly Black. As soon as they say amputation, they believe that. If they tell them you need an amputation for a better quality of life, they believe that. They don't second guess their physicians. And this is the thing that physicians need to understand. We don't second guess you because we trust that you're telling us what's right. But now I tell everybody, I don't care Black, white, purple, or green, stop believing and taking the first option. There are always better options out there. The medical society has been it's amazing at what they can do. Prosthetics, they look like real. My prosthesis, people can't believe it. But that's because I had people that I believed in, and I put my faith in them. So just know, African American people, we fight for so much. Please, please help us fight for our limbs. Don't just take them just because you don't want to be bothered. Protect us, please.